Channel 7. And this is Texas Motor Speedway.
Welcome to the Fort Worth Fire Department Equipment Shop. This place is incredible. I'm starting out my day with Craig, the Fire Department PIO here. You'll get to meet him and we'll get to talk a lot more with him later, but first, I gotta talk fire apparatus and check out all of these rigs. I'm a huge geek when it comes to fire apparatus and there are a ton to look at here. So I'm told by almost everybody that this old Truck 14 is legendary on the job. It's an older E1 with a 135-foot rear mount aerial. It's being replaced by a new Pierce Velocity that's here at the shop getting worked up right now. But pretty much everybody I've talked to has mentioned the legendary status of this rig at this fire department. I've seen a couple of buff videos on YouTube of this rig rolling out on some calls too, if you want to see what it looks like lit up. Portable bathroom unit. I can't think of how many times I've wished we had this on scene. There's a handful of brand new Pierce Velocity engines and a couple of aerials here. Brand new, haven't hit the streets yet, and they're doing all the upfitting and tool mounting here at the equipment shop. Here's one that you don't get to see every day. Oshkosh Striker 6x6. Fort Worth Fire actually protects a couple of smaller municipal airports around the metro area, not including DFW. They actually have their own fire department, but there's a couple small satellite airports that Fort Worth Fire covers. For a number of years, Fort Worth Fire has ran the Quint concept, and if that's a term that you're not familiar with, Quint is actually going back into fire terminology way back into the day, where we started with engines that carried pumps, water, and hose, made a triple combination, because before motorized fire apparatus, all three of those functions were performed by an individual apparatus. Then when you add ground ladders to that vehicle, it becomes a quad. There aren't very many quads that I know of around the country today, but that was a term that was out there for a long time. And quint is when you add an aerial device to that apparatus. So the 5 things that make a quint: pump, hose, water, ground ladders, and an aerial ladder. And the purpose of a quint is so that it can be kind of a Swiss Army knife. You can perform functions as an engine or a truck company on scene, and that definitely makes the crew have to be very flexible in how they are going to do their strategy and tactics when they arrive at a fire. Fort Worth has a lot of quints in service today, but they are going back to a traditional truck company concept, or a dry truck, meaning that those ones will not carry water, they will not carry hose or a pump. They will simply be performing those ladder company, traditional truck company roles. So along with the new apparatus, of course, there are older reserve apparatus here, and in many fire departments, the reserves are on the street almost as much as the frontline ones are, because they're constantly needing maintenance, preventative maintenance, those kind of things. So there's a lot of reserve apparatus here as well. Here's another brand new Pierce Velocity pumper. This one's going to engine 26. And I gotta say, I really, really love the individuality that the companies get to have and have their house logos so big on the side of the rigs. The apparatus behind me is very unique. This is a high water unit. Not a lot of fire departments have these, but I have seen quite a few, especially on the East Coast. Very beneficial during hurricanes with floodwaters, and they can also be used during blizzard situations as well. Really, the goal of this is to be emergency transportation for people who are trapped by whatever the natural disaster is, and they have to get them out through those high waters, high snow, debris, that sort of thing. The back of this vehicle has a lift gate on it as well, so for people who are in wheelchairs, they're able to lift them up in the back of this vehicle and take them to safety. Brand new apparatus behind me, built by Skeeter. The going joke around here is that it's called a BARF. That's a brush ARF apparatus, because it'll be going to one of the airports. Really high ground clearance and a really sweet ride. Craig, thanks for having me down here in Fort Worth and setting up my ride along yesterday, and for taking the time today to tell me all the things that are Fort Worth Fire. And this is a big, very unique place, so it's been exciting to learn more about it. We are down in the stockyards, which I had never really seen or heard of before I started researching Fort Worth before I came down here, and didn't realize that this is such a tourist center. And as luck would have it for a photographer, certainly not for the person who needed medical attention, we got to see an actual emergency response down here today, which is probably unique and doesn't happen very often. But one of the things I was thinking about is, as a tourist, we go and visit places, and typically we really don't think a lot about public safety. We just go in and enjoy ourselves. But for everybody that's here in the stockyards, they're relying largely on Fort Worth Fire to help them if something happens. So tell me more about this place and how you personally know about it, because you used to work down here.
Yes, sir. So yeah, like I said, being here within the city and on the fire department for about 20 years, I started out on the east side of town and then moved up here to a station that's kind of right in the heart of the stockyards. What you saw today is, like you said, you don't think about it when you're out visiting unless you need emergency care. But we had a gentleman from South Africa that was down here visiting our beautiful city, and he just kind of got to where he was feeling ill. So you would think, kind of like we discussed, being from South Africa, the heat and stuff, but it's overwhelming to a degree. Sometimes you're out here walking around, seeing all the sights, and you're not taking in fluids and staying hydrated like you should in this Texas heat. And so I think that was more the case on that particular incident. But yeah, we're out here 24/7, not only for the residents of this community and for our city, but for the people that come and visit it and try to make memories here as well. So,
and 12's pretty recently had significant fire in this historic district.
In Fort Worth, investigators are looking for the cause of a fire at a historic building in the stockyards. The Fort Worth Fire Department shared these photos on its Facebook page. Fire crews were leaving the scene of a different fire last night when they spotted smoke coming from the building, which is currently home to a bar. Firefighters say a broken gas line made it difficult to fight the flames. It took 2 hours to bring the flames under control with the help of fire departments from 4 other cities. The teams were able to keep the fire from damaging neighboring historic buildings. Thankfully, no one was hurt. The building where the fire started is more than 100 years old.
The fire came back as undetermined as far as the cause. Our guys made a really good stop on trying to protect that piece of history. Like I said, we do everything we can. Anytime something catches on fire, we look at it as our home, our property, our business.
My viewers of this YouTube channel got to see the downtown experience yesterday, which is largely what an urban downtown environment is. A lot of commercial high-rises, some new multifamily residential. There's some highway around there. A pretty big population of unhoused individuals just over the other side of the highway, and this is certainly a different feel, right? Cobblestone streets,
sure.
Lots of restaurants, the whole touristy thing, and it's just one little bitty part of Fort Worth. So I've seen Station 2's first due district. This is Station 12's, but there's 40-some firehouses here, right?
45. Yes,
45
We've
firehouses.
got plans for a couple of more coming up just as quick as we can put them on the ground. So we are the number one or the fastest growing city in the nation right now. When you looked at those kind of stats up, we're the 13th largest city in the country right now as we speak. And like I said, it doesn't look like it's going to slow down anytime soon. So we're excited to kind of see the progress from where we began, which is, you just heard some of the history for how Cowtown or Fort Worth started, and how we're moving kind of into the future. We've got lots of corporations and industry coming down here to call Fort Worth their home. So we still, what's really exciting about what we've got going on here is there's still that very small town feel. We're almost at a million people population-wise, but when you walk the streets and you talk to people and everything else, you really feel like you're kind of in that small town environment. So we're very proud of that. We want to hang on to that, but we also realize that growth's coming, growth's here, and it's gonna be here for a long time.
That's one of the big things that I noticed right away. I don't know that it's appropriate to call it Southern hospitality necessarily, if this is the South since you're in North Texas, but that's certainly what it feels like. Everybody is just super friendly and welcoming, and that's been my experience. I'm glad everywhere I've been here.
I'm glad they're treating you like one of us. So
All right, YouTube, so along my Fort Worth journey, I am now at Fire Station 8 with Joe. Joe is the operator of Gear 1. Gear 1 is a unique rig. I've never seen anything like this before, and that name is kind of a play on words. So what does Gear 1 actually stand for?
It stands for Gear, Exchange, and Rehab.
Okay, so what exactly does this truck do?
So every structure fire that comes in, this will be on it. When a fire comes in, we'll respond, and initially we'll act as a rehab.
Okay.
We'll give the guys water, we'll make sure they're cool, just make sure everybody is hydrated.
Yeah.
Towards the end of a fire scene, we'll kind of switch hats and we'll be on the gear exchange side of it.
Okay.
So at that point, we'll start finding who's on scene, who needs to swap out gear, what their sizes are, and when they're ready, they'll come to the truck and we'll swap them out with new gear.
And you have a tracking method so you know what size all personnel are, right?
Correct, yeah. We have a logbook inside the truck and it's got everybody that's on staff and their sizes next to it. So
okay, so walk me through the process.
Sure.
I'm a firefighter who needs to get my new gear. What do we do next?
Yeah. So after you're done with everything, after overhaul is finished, at that point you can come, everybody sort of stands right here, and this is where they'll take apart their gear. They'll separate their liners from their outer shell. They'll use these bags. They'll put those liners inside here. They'll use another bag. Everybody gets 2 bags. They'll put their outer shell in a separate bag. And then both of those bags sort of go together so that their gear stays together, because it's then sent off to get cleaned, and it stays with it the whole time.
Okay.
Yeah, and transport.
So once a firefighter has bagged up their liner and their outer jacket, outer pants, what happens after that?
So you can climb up here. So we'll just go through this roster, and everybody's size is on there. I'll go through the roster. I'll figure out who's, let's say Engine 9 is out here, and they want to swap out gear. I'll find all 4 of those guys on this roster, the sizes they wear. I'll pull these sizes. We have coats over here on this side, pants over here on this side. So everybody will get 2 bags, coat and pants. And after they're done bagging their gear or old gear, I'll give them coat and pants. And sometimes they'll try them on. Sometimes they'll just wait till they get cleaned up and get back to the station. But that's pretty much the process.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is there a par level of how much gear you keep on the apparatus for how many people it can cover roughly?
Yeah. So there's approximately 150 sets when it's full.
Okay.
As you can see right now, there's a lot of gaps in it. A lot of this gear is out. But we have a third-party cleaning company that will take care of it. And they process it pretty quickly.
Okay.
So when that gear comes back, we pick it up, we take it to wherever it needs to go. So not only do we sort of get these guys in new gear, but we also deliver that gear back to them.
Okay. So do they have like sewn in names, or are they removable like Velcro names off the back of their coats?
They're removable names, and sometimes they'll leave those tags in there and sometimes they won't, but it doesn't really matter because there's a serial number attached to every firefighter.
Okay.
And that's another check that we do on our side at Supply. They will go through, ensure that gear belongs to that fireman, and then they'll put a name on a tag and wrap it in a clear plastic bag, and then that way you know who it needs to go to and what station.
And I think one of the most important parts of this is obviously for cancer prevention initiatives.
Absolutely.
You don't keep any dirty gear in here once those firefighters take it off. So where does it go?
Yes, this maintained as a clean space. And if you want to walk over this way. After they bag it, they'll put it in here. This is what it looks like. This is 4 different firemen that had to swap out gear from a fire earlier. And so all that gear will be taken to Supply here in Fort Worth. And from there, that third-party company will come and pick it up and take it, clean it. And so roughly a week turnaround, sometimes 7 to 10 days.
Yeah.
about that, depending on the workload.
Sure.
Yeah.
Is there an average amount of fires that you respond to?
I'd say on average, you respond to at least one a shift.
Okay.
But it could be, you know, I've responded to 4 in one shift. So it's
Wow.
just, it ebbs and flows just like the fire business does.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's just a good perspective to add. So for folks that maybe aren't familiar with Fort Worth Fire Department and might be thinking their fire department's not busy enough to justify a vehicle like this, with the volume of structure fires that Fort Worth is getting, this is definitely a necessity, it sounds like.
Absolutely. Sometimes we wish we had another one on the north side of town, you know.
Yeah.
But, you know, for the most part, this has been functioning, I think, better than everybody thought it would. It's still sort of new in its infancy, but guys are starting to get more and more comfortable with it. As you know, firemen are reluctant to change. You know, people are, I think, but you know, that's guys are warming up to it. They're starting to swap their gear out a little more often on scene, and it's been. I think we've had pretty healthy feedback.
That's great.
So far, it's been good.
It's great to hear.
But I'm excited to go out there and talk about all the good things that we're doing as a fire department and to kind of showcase our city. So it's a little bit different than what I'm used to. I'm very much outside of my comfort zone. I'm not used to being in front of the cameras. I like to kind of be more the dirty guy inside the burnout house and doing what I do. But now I'm excited to have this role to go out there and show all the good things that our people are doing day in and day out.
So I'm here with Joe. Joe's the captain of the alarm office, and thank you so much for having me up here today. It's really great to see the setup. How do you guys work? Is this a secondary PSAP, primary PSAP?
We are a secondary PSAP.
Okay.
We do have a little bit of a unique situation here where if PD gets overloaded, they're the primary. So if it does get overloaded with calls, those calls will roll over to us. And in that sense, those calls are treated as though we're a PSAP. So we then transfer them to the location they need to be transferred to, back to PD or to our EMS service.
Okay.
That makes sense?
It does make sense, yeah. And then I noticed the fire alarm office is in its own building, but it's not shared by the other, like the police dispatch or EMS, so they're in different locations.
Well, we do share the building with PD.
Oh, okay.
They're just next door here. We're just separated by doors.
Okay.
Our EMS dispatch is in a different building across town.
Nice, okay. And then what does staffing look like in here? Like what kind of shift schedule do the dispatchers work?
They work, it's sort of a unique 24 on, 72 off schedule.
Wow, okay.
There's a bit of a rotation to it to keep them from getting more than their 80 hours per week. So once a month, one of the shifts will do a 32-hour shift that goes from Tuesday into Wednesday, and then the following week they'll have a shift where it's only 16 hours on a Wednesday.
Okay.
So it's almost easier to show you. It's a little confusing, but the general gist is that it's a 24 on, 72 off.
Okay. And so if they're on a 24-hour shift, do they get a rest period to get off the board?
They do, yes.
Okay.
They have break periods during their day, and then in the evening they have a period where they're able to go and rest as well. But they're always subject to being called back to the floor at any time there's a structure fire or any sort of major event that's occurring.
Okay. And then how many dispatchers do you have on duty at one time?
Each shift currently has between 6 and 7. We're about to get some additional staffing, so at that point every shift will have 7 people assigned to that shift. But we also do a bit of upstaffing, as we call it.
Okay.
It's additional overtime staffing that we do to fill the need to answer all the additional rollover calls I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
And so that brings us up to 8 people per shift on the evenings.
Okay. And so about 130,000 calls a year for Fort Worth Fire, but you also dispatch for some of the areas in Tarrant County, other fire districts, right?
We do, yes. Well, we've been kind of working at sort of a regionalization where we're taking in additional cities.
Okay.
We're currently also dispatching for 5 of the extra cities, River Oaks, Sansom Park, Saginaw, Lake Worth, and Hazlitt.
Okay. So definitely a lot going on. With those 7 dispatch positions, how do you have those divided up? Is there specific people who are doing call taking and dispatching calls for the day?
Yeah, so one person acts as our radio operator, one person acts as our dispatcher, and the rest of the people are acting as call takers.
Okay.
So,
and then if you have like a fire, major incident going on, does the radio operator, is somebody committed to that incident on a radio channel?
That's correct. So one person will take over just that one channel and just be dedicated solely to the fire traffic.
Okay.
And then another TRO will become available. It'll be one of the call takers who converts to a radio operator and that person will take all the additional channels.
Nice. As I spin around here and look at the consoles, is each console specific to the job that the person's doing? Like I hear this dispatcher taking calls. Is that a call taker position?
No, they're all exactly the same.
Okay.
They all have the ability to do the exact same job. As someone takes the dispatcher position, they just have to go in and to type a certain code in that allows them to have control of that dispatcher position.
Okay.
So that one person does it. The person who's operating as a radio operator, they just focus primarily on that one screen over there to the far left. That's all of our channels that we have available to us.
Okay.
And then the call takers are focusing primarily on creating tickets and answering the phone lines there. We have 2 rings. We have the one you're hearing now, which is a 911 call, and we have another ring that's a non-emergency line call.
Okay.
That would be a 911 call right there.
Okay. And then for your dispatchers, they are firefighters first in the Fort Worth Fire Department before they come into dispatch, correct?
Yes, we ideally like to have them have 5 years of experience before they ever apply to come down to the alarm office.
Wow, okay. And then is that kind of like a station bid? Is there a commitment time that you're signing up for if you come
Yes,
here?
so it's a 2-year commitment to come down here initially.
Okay.
But that's just standard from around the fire department. So we're not currently doing EFD. Something we're looking into. We kind of do our own version of it.
Okay.
We choose a call type, and then we have a little button that we can press that brings up a set of questions specific to the incident. And then the call taker will then follow those questions to make sure we covered everything.
So with the vast area that you cover and the amount of firehouses, how do you manage station coverage and move-ups? Is there software that helps with that, or is it a dispatcher decision only?
We do use a software. It's called Live Mum.
Uh-huh.
It's right over there in the corner. You can see it on the TV up there, and we also have it available on every computer. So we can pull it up and see where the shortage exists, and we'll look at our calls to see what type of calls are on to determine how long they're likely to be on that call.
Yeah.
If it's something like an EMS call, we know they're going to get available fairly quickly, so we won't make the move up. But if it's an extended incident, then we will make that move up using that software.
Yeah. And then I just noticed behind you, it looks like you've got a pretty robust weather screen. I'm guessing that's probably pretty important given the severe weather threat that you all have here. So that's just monitoring current conditions, and looks like maybe radar in the background?
Right, exactly. And so we can look at it and see when things are about to blow in and maybe have some preparation time for that. We also have the ability to bring up traffic cameras here. So whenever we have a motor vehicle accident, we can look and see how the traffic's flowing in that area and try to give the units that are responding some additional guidance.
Very cool. Very impressive operation.
But we are actually celebrating 150 years of fire protection here in Fort Worth this year.
Wow.
130 years career firefighter, 150 total when you look back and from the volunteer side of things. So it's pretty awesome stuff that we've got going on, and just so honored to be proud to carry on that history that's been around for way longer than we got here. And like you said, one day somebody will look back at what we're doing. We don't look at it that way now, but
Right behind me is Texas Motor Speedway, which is in the city of Fort Worth. This place is huge. It can have over 191,000 spectators, and because of that, Fort Worth Fire Department actually has a fire station here on site. This is a Friday afternoon with race days over the weekend, and on this Friday night they're fully staffing a quint and an engine, and during the race day tomorrow they'll have an additional engine company, a brush truck, and a full command structure set up here to manage all of the call volume. So this is the inner loop of the racetrack.
Yeah, we're on the inside now.
This is a massive tourist event.
Absolutely.
And for most of the people who come here, they're not thinking about what happens if they have a fire or a medical emergency or the worst thing happens here, but you guys have to 100% be prepared for a worst case scenario. And with a population of literally a city in this one place, there's a lot of potential.
Absolutely, yeah. That's the reason we're here, is for that protection, right? So a lot of the stuff that we get out here is, EMS calls, and we do have occasions to where some of these RVs and campers and stuff catch fire, grass fires. Like we had heard earlier, somewhere around this area there was a full arrest. I don't know if it was actually on the grounds or in close proximity outside of the grounds itself, but yeah, there's a lot of things going on.
Engine 24's on west. There's a hydrant directly across the street. We're going to shut the road down and lay your line across Randall Mill. Engine 20 officer from engine 20 driver, you're at half tank.
Take the exit, then turn right onto Randall Mill Road.
284 is on
Turn
scene.
right onto Randall Mill Road, then turn right onto Stoneview Circle.
Remember, 20. 20-0 on channel 3, sir.
I'm gonna park right here and kind of shut this down.
Yep.
Yeah,
20.
Mayor Park Boulevard.
We get rolling, I'll let you get
59
that in here.
FDEMF 35
Channel 7.
Alpha Mesa Boulevard.
And this is that same address we were getting those false alarms at last year. Appears to be the same thing.
Quint 33, Engine 9, Quint 31, Engine 1, Engine 19, Battalion 3, Battalion 2, Battalion 7, Euless Engine. Respond on Channel 7.
Quint 33's on, nothing showing, investigating.
I started in on an outbuilding fire. They got it put under control. And an apartment fire came in the southwest part of town. So we ran down there to see if they had anything. They kind of cut everybody loose, saying it was a false call. About the time another apartment fire came in on kind of the far east part of town. And they just said that they're just holding their company. So now we're going to kind of make a U-turn again.
The city's growing like crazy. That means you have to hire more people.
Correct.
And that's happening right now.
It is going on. We just had a application deadline that ended just a few days back. We're going to start a class from the people that are they haven't even taken the test yet. We're probably going to hire between 40 and 60 there. We've got a brand new class of 60 that's going to be coming in, starting their recruit academy on Monday. So class of 60 starting Monday, another class of anywhere probably between 40 and 60 that are going to start early spring of next year. So yeah, we're really, like I said, with that growth, to try to see who can we bring in to help be a part of this history with us.
Yeah.
And truly be a part of this family. I mean, everywhere in the fire service, you talk about the brothers and sisters and the family away from your family at home. And we're excited to have these new people come on board with us and really grow roots here in this town with us and be the next phase of what the fire department history looks like here in Fort Worth for years to come.